A very good evening and thanks for clicking on to the Saturday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Hope everybody is well, enjoying their weekend so far. Sorry for no video last night. When you're doing night shift and you're trying to kind of juggle things about, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to try and squeeze everything in. So like I say, I apologise for no video yesterday. But in today's video, I want to look at the ECMWF weeklies. This is off weatherbell.com, a terrific site. It's a subscription-based site, and there's some amazing stuff on it. Good forecasters, as well as great content and a great forecast chart package on it as well. So yeah, we're looking at the ECMWF weeklies today. I'm trying to mix it up a wee bit so that it's not just repeating everything each and every day. The overall pattern is definitely turning very interesting indeed as we move into the winter of 2022-2023. We do have a massive setup here at the moment where the overall pattern is flipping around. We've had a warm mid-latitudes, cold high latitudes. We're turning that around. The Arctic Oscillation is going negative. The North Atlantic Oscillation is going negative. And things are looking very good indeed. Does it necessarily guarantee that we will have a cold pattern coming up for the majority of December? No, it doesn't. And I'll highlight that and I'll continue to reinforce that, folks, that despite the fact that the AO and the NAO is going negative, the Madden-Julian Oscillation is looking good. We've got negative EPO, negative WPO. Like I've said before, all these ingredients coming together does not guarantee that we are going to get the cold pattern. All it takes is the Atlantic to have that little bit more influence on the eastern side of the North Atlantic, and that could essentially push anything coming from the east to the east of the UK. So very, very important when we're looking at this large-scale pattern change. By the way, it's been a while since we've had modelling indicating the big three industrial areas of the world, i.e. North America, Europe, and Eastern Asia, all turning cold at the same time. And I do think that in the way things are at the moment, with a warmer world overall, both atmosphere and ocean, the getting a 90-day period below normal is becoming harder, especially in Western Europe. The reason why is because we've got a warm North Atlantic, or a warm AMO, Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. Back during the early portion of autumn, we had the warmest AMO in recorded history. And that can, in essence, actually lead to more blocking over the North Atlantic, Greenland. If we've got a tripole, it also could lead to a warmer winter overall, where we've got a stronger jet stream, stronger polar vortex driving that jet stream, and we get flooded by Atlantic air. And of course, if the Atlantic is warmer than normal overall, you can have a heck of a warm winter. We've kind of seen that last year, of course. But that warm water can be a twofold thing. It can produce a very warm winter, but it also can lead to a colder winter. And it's certainly interesting, all that we're seeing at the moment taking place, all the drivers kind of coming together quite nicely. The modelling is responding to those drivers. It is harder to get a cold than normal 90-day period in the era in which we live at the moment, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen. I do think cold spells can be just as strong as they've been in decades going by, even despite the warmer overall backdrop. I think it's harder to get a sustained 1, 2, 3 month period where it's below normal. I think once you start to cool the Atlantic, we would have an increased chance of seeing colder over a longer period of time. So those are my thoughts anyway. This is the ECMWF weeklies, and one common denominator is high latitude blocking, and it looks as if, certainly according to these models, indicating that we have a sustained period of high latitude blocking, which is quite interesting to see. Now, this is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart here, and it's the 5 or 7 day increment. This is actually the 30-day average, which then is the period between Thursday the 24th and Saturday the 24th of December, which of course is Christmas Eve. And notice here that the latest run of the ECMWF weeklies is indicating high latitude blocking Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia, a build up to the north of the UK, and then we've got kind of a likely trough underneath. That would look to me like an easterly dominated pattern, but again, it's never quite as straightforward. It's never quite as simple as that, unfortunately. Looking at the weeklies here, and we can see what happens. Looking at the evolution of the pattern and how it materializes, and I've highlighted that quite a lot recently, so I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of it because you just start to become repetitive then. But look at the strong ridge over Scandinavia into our side of the Arctic Ocean. Watch what happens as we go through the period here. We'll start to see the build-up of pressure. We'll start to link the trough from eastern North America to Europe here. And it is a chart that winter weather lovers can only dream of, really. And certainly it seems in recent times that has been the case. But you can continue to see as we play through the loop that we have the period even through towards Christmas. We've got the blocking to the north of the North Atlantic and Greenland here. So we're continuing to see that negative NAO signal as we go through the period. And then as we move towards the Christmas to New Year period, of course, this is fantasy land, folks. I'm not necessarily saying for a second that this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm just merely showing you the models and the potential of the pattern. But look at the negative now starting to show up towards Iceland here. That would indicate we flip from a negative to a more positive North Atlantic oscillation for this time frame here. Looking at the Europe, it's quite interesting to see. This is the 850 millibar temperature anomaly chart, and this is the upcoming 7-day period. So at the moment we're in warm air. Of course, we've got southwesterly winds. We've still got frontal systems. We've still got a wet pattern overall. Notice the trough here over Central Europe. Watch as I play through the loop here, the evolution, the setup. We start to see the buildup of pressure to the north, and we start to see that negative underneath representing colder than normal 850 temperatures here. So as I play through the loop, look at this here. Isn't that exciting to see if you like winter? The problem that we've got, of course, is that unfortunately, with the way things are with the cost of living crisis, this is not a good pattern. That's for sure. And of course, the average temperatures coming down, and to go below the average now into the month of December is not a good situation for folks that are already struggling to pay their bills. It is a nightmare, and you can see here as we go right the way through to the end of the month, we still have below normal 850 temperatures across the majority of Europe. What a flip around, what a turnaround this is compared to what we've seen not just during the autumn season, but the whole year has been incredibly warm. So this is a big change, a big shock to the system here. There's no question about that. Now, looking at the 10 HPA temperatures, this is off the ECMWF as well. It's a bit of an ECMWF Saturday video. But you can see here that it actually is going pretty weak. So well below the seasonal average. This is the average line right here in the thick red. You can see here that it takes a bit of a tank, and then we start to see an increase in those 10 millibar winds circling the northern hemisphere. So we go from significantly weaker than normal right the way up to stronger than normal, and then it starts to go back towards average once again. But that's the ECMWF. The GFS is quite different. It does show the polar vortex of 10 millibars strengthening, but then it also indicates that we have significant warming coming off Siberia. Wouldn't it be a bit of a nightmare for many of us, the majority of the population? Wouldn't it be a nightmare if you had a cold pattern instigated by the Manchurian oscillation and the late season tropical situation that we've seen? That transfer of heat from the mid latitudes to the high latitudes forcing the weakening, if not collapse of the polar vortex, then that sets off a major cold spell later in the month of December on into January. That would be a nightmare scenario, because what you would be talking about would be a major first half to winter cold spell, and that is simply something that we do not need at this moment in time, folks. So Arctic oscillation, this is according to the GFS ensemble. You can see here that it is going negative, firmly negative at that. And the North Atlantic oscillation, no surprise, goes slightly positive, interesting enough, then it tanks into negative territory as well. So the ECMWF, the GFS ensemble, all coming together with a strong northern blocking setup here. Like I've said before, just because the overall hemispheric pattern is conducive does not guarantee that the cold is going to be, focused in the UK. We're in a kind of difficult location, situated beside a warmer than normal Atlantic. How many times have we seen the model showing a really cold spell, but simply the core of the cold stays on the wrong side of the North Sea? Certainly for a lot of people, that's what you would be really hoping for this winter overall. This is the latest one of the GFS. Very interesting stuff. Paying close attention to that area of high pressure at nearly 1050 millibars over northwestern Russia. We've still got the Atlantic driving the pattern at the moment. We've got milder coming in from the southwest. So we continue to see the pattern that we've had for some time. Playing through the loop, we do have a little bit of a build-up of pressure coming in, so we settle things down into the early portion of next week. Like I say, keeping an eye on that area of high pressure over Europe here, because what happens is it continues to stretch out, elongate. We've got winds coming east to west underneath that area of high pressure, and therefore we start to see the big battle, so to speak, between Atlantic essentially shutting down and the Scandinavian high taking over the pattern. And the question mark is going to be the British Isles. But you notice here, by the time we reach the 1st of December, and you can see here the setup taking place, it essentially is this area of high pressure takes control. We then start to shut down and push back the Atlantic, and we start to see winds coming in underneath that from a cold source, and we've got a much colder setup taking place. These are the 850 temperatures here for the same time frame, and you can see here the cold air in place. So we still continue to see this somewhat battle between Atlantic and continental here. So nothing is written in stone here, folks, and I want to emphasize that. Then as we go through the period, watch what happens. Let's go back to the overview chart here. Watch what happens to the area of high pressure over the North Atlantic. That then takes center stage. We'll see a big trough developing exactly where the high is, and that is a cold trough. Look at that there. That is a setup that would discharge a bitterly cold northerly wind, and what happens is the GFS is indicating that this flow continues to draw Arctic air around this system here. Look at the area of high pressure over the North Atlantic. So we've shut down the Atlantic altogether according to this latest GFS operational run, and that, folks, is a cold outlook through the early to mid portion of December. And like I showed with the weeklies, it's indicating that blocking maintains itself through towards the Christmas period here. So certainly a lot of things on the cards at the moment. I do encourage you to keep it right here on my YouTube channel. Lots of things to look at. I will look at the big picture, explaining why things are changing the way they are, not just the fact that they're changing and what the implications may be. Looking finally at the snow chart here, because I'm running out of time. You can see here that as we go towards the early portion of December, do we start to see snow increasing? Not significantly so, if you notice here, but we are starting to see more snow across the Scottish mountains, for example, across parts of France, northern Spain, the Alpine region, Scandinavia, pretty much snow covered as well. Lots of things to consider, so keep it right here on my channel. Thanks for watching. Please drop a comment, please like, please share with your friends and family, and if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Bye for now.